Jesus, Trump, woke, white privilege, vaccines, DEI, MAGA, patriots, gun control, God, hell, and finally, the universally offensive trigger, yo mama. If I were to show you an image of a certain red hat, does that evoke any feelings in your body? Hey, you guys are talking back to me, all right. Keep that up. How about the image of Black Lives Matter in our own parking lot? How about the Confederate flag? The pride flag, the Blue Lives Matter flag, the border wall, or Jesus with a white bandage on his ear. I meant to say white Jesus with a bandage on his ear. So what do these conjure up for you? Just hearing some words and phrases or seeing images can provoke strong responses from different social and cultural groups in our society. They can be really unsettling, uncomfortable, and in fact, triggering for some folks. When we hear the word trigger, we might automatically associate it with something dramatic, like the trigger of a gun or another firearm. Think about the school shootings where lives were lost because a gun was in the hand of a madman. Consider the recent assassination attempt on our former president. That incident brought a surge of powerful emotions, reminding us of how intense these times are. Gun violence inflicts lasting harm on communities, families, and our nation. More specifically, our nation, where 15.8 million guns were sold last year alone. 15.8. Although worthy of mention, guns, however, are not the subject of my message today. Because the word trigger doesn't only relate to firearms, but also to emotions and feelings associated with reliving a painful or difficult situation or an unhealed trauma. It is also a metaphor for our deep political and social divisions, where words and actions and images can quickly escalate into anger, conflict, and polarization, all taking a toll on our mental and emotional well-being. But triggers can also raise our awareness and push us toward action. Seeing images of natural disasters can stir our compassion and motivating us to give or to get involved. And throughout history and in our current culture, significant events and actions have triggered profound emotional responses and societal change. Rosa Parks, her refusal to give up her seat triggered the Montgomery bus boycott, and ignited the civil rights movement. The harassing police raids on gay bars in New York City sparked the Stonewall riots and birthed the LGBT or gay rights movement. These exemplify how collective emotional responses can lead to significant social progress. The overturning of Roe versus Wade upset many people, especially women and girls who felt stripped of their bodily autonomy. This has inspired a new wave of activism and advocacy for reproductive rights. But just as large-scale events have shaped our world, smaller daily triggers can lead to progress and positive changes in ourselves and our surroundings. Certain triggers can inspire us to act with kindness, motivate us to pursue our goals, and remind us of the beauty and joy in life. A smile from a stranger, a compliment from a friend, or a beautiful sunset can all trigger feelings of contentment and gratitude, encouraging us to spread that positivity. Yet despite these positive triggers, we more frequently face those that are more negative. When we're bombarded by these triggers, it can lead to knee-jerk reactions, escalating conflicts, and harm in our interactions and relationships. When our emotions are heightened, it's easy to lose sight of our values and respond in ways that we might later regret. Think about it. Maybe you're stuck in a long line at the grocery store when you really need to be somewhere else. And that cashier is taking their sweet time trying to learn every family history of every customer. You lose it. You start insulting the cashier, asking for the manager. We've seen those folks. Or someone cuts you off in traffic and gives you the bird, or perhaps you give them the bird. Someone makes an offhand comment about someone behind their back when you know that they themselves, they live in a glass house. So we've all been there. That these daily triggers can make us feel stressed, anxious, and irritable, leading to arguments with loved ones, difficulties at work, and a general sense of unhappiness. So it's important how we manage these triggers because it affects those around us and shapes our interactions and our lives. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with trying to get attention, influence opinions, or get people engaged. This is what advertisers do. We see it in social media, politics, and even entertainment. Every day, there are likely hundreds of triggers directed our way. Regardless of our own plans or goals, something is going to come up to thwart them, to disrupt them, to get us to tune in or to respond to whatever it is they want us to do. But when it's an effort to manipulate our emotions and create divisions, problems in our relationships or finances, or put our health and possibly our very lives at risk, then, folks, that's a real problem. Someone out there has a goal to push your buttons. In fact, there seems to be professional button pushers whose work it is to push and provoke you, to trigger you, to bully you, sometimes outright lie to you, mislead you, and distract you. Now, we've all had our buttons pushed by some of them. Is that right? And Marlon is my button pusher today. Now, when that first button is pushed, it used to make noises, but that's fine. You see, you get the point. It's probably turned off at the bottom. When that first button is pushed, something is said or done that gets under your skin. Now, you just smile and think, oh, it's okay. You know, I woke up this morning and I had my coffee and I said my prayer and I spent time in meditation. I'm feeling really good about life. And then you walk out and someone said, you know, you cooked those eggs a little too hard. Aren't you thankful that you got eggs? No. And I'm not talking about my relationship, okay? I'm just... Well, we all had our buttons pushed. Something is said that gets under our skin, and we smile, and we say, it's okay. We're going to move on. We just ignore it. But then you're at the bank or at work, and then somebody pushes button number 2. Now you are a bit more animated. You try to redirect, change the subject, think of pleasant memories. Right now I'm thinking of rainbows and butterflies, trying to distract myself. And then someone else or that same person comes back and pushes button number, wait. You may not want to push that button. But then they push it anyway. And then the hair on your neck starts to rise and you begin to twitch a little bit. You start thinking about how good your morning had been and how good you felt, but now somebody is trying to steal your joy and your peace. And you try to tell them that they're crossing a line, but yet some people just don't get it. And they want you to go to DEFCON 4 by pressing that final button. And then we explode, people. We just lose it. At least I do. We knew we should have stepped outside, felt the sun on our skin, breathed the fresh air, and thanked the lucky stars for the day, but instead we lost it. And I know that I'm not the only one. And now the button pushers have won, the bullies have won, and some of them will have the audacity to act all innocent, asking, why are you so angry? You're so mean. You call yourself a preacher. I did hear that one from Dimitri now. I'm just kidding. And now you really want to let them have it because you're triggered. And now they're triggered, and we're all triggered, and we all are ready for battle, folks. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Isn't this our world today? And some people who trigger you aren't worried about the consequences or the damage they do. They can sit behind their keyboards and drop those word bombs. They can pull that trigger and keep on moving. A friend told me the other day that he was at a party when some woman he had never met, didn't know from Adam, came up to him and said, "You're going to go bald before 30," and then just walked off. Leaving him standing there, scratching his balding head, wondering, what just happened? Body shaming is real, folks. Now, I spent time with my family this past 4th of July, and I had already told myself, if this one relative of mine says anything about my legs, I'd say something equally mean in return. So as soon as I walked in the door, what do you think she said? What do you think she did? Yeah. She said, with skinny legs like that, why would you even think about wearing shorts? Now, my legs are really skinny, folks. But it's genetic. No matter what I do, they won't grow. So I am learning, and notice I said I didn't learn. I am learning to accept my body as it is. I'm not there yet. And I remember how self-conscious I was about wearing shorts. She didn't know how hard I tried to work out my legs, or how often I would wear long pants, even in triple-degree heat, just to avoid comments like that. She doesn't know how much I struggled. And it wasn't that I cared about her opinions of my body. It was about what shame had kept me from. The shame she wanted me still to carry. Besides that, I never asked for her opinion of my body. Sometimes I wonder what gives a person the right to say whatever they want to another. Is it entitlement, ignorance, trauma, or something else? Have you noticed somebody always got to tell you their unsolicited thoughts? And if you don't know somebody, then that might just be you. Oh, this dress doesn't fit your body type. Oh, that haircut doesn't suit you. Oh, I don't believe she's your type. Oh, I don't believe in gay marriage. Okay, then don't marry nobody gay. But talking about my skinny legs, I had a bunch of thoughts rushing through my mind, some of them rather bitter. I'm just gonna be honest with you folks. There was a split second when I considered clapping back with something like, we all have our challenges, and for some, it's not about being skinny. I did think about it. I'm just being honest. But that would have been mean as hell. Hurt people hurt people. And I wasn't going to let her words hurt me. And then I, in turn, hurt her. I simply told her she shouldn't body shame people. We have the bodies we have, and it is important that we accept them as they are. What gives any of us the right to speak words that harm, that hurt, when people are so hungry for words filled with grace, words full of compassion, words that heal? Mahatma Gandhi said, the tongue is a little organ, but it does great harm. A careless word can kindle strife. A cruel word can wreck a life. You finally got that dream job and someone starts planting seeds about why it's not right for you. Oh, that's what you do for a living? You start writing that book and someone says with skepticism, I just can't see you as a writer. You start painting and someone dropped the bomb saying, oh, it's good, but practice makes perfect. I heard someone say recently, don't let someone talk you out of the place you have rightfully earned by internalizing that criticism. But I know it's hard, so no, not today, naysayer. Not today. Because we all falter and fail sometimes. We are human and imperfect. But in our imperfection, we often fall into the trap of making assumptions about others based on limited information, creating stories that may not reflect reality. Consider how we might easily misjudge a silent coworker as unfriendly when they just might be shy or focused on their duties. A delayed call back, oh, I didn't get a call back, or text message response can seem like you've been ignored. Why are they ignoring me? They didn't call me back, and it's been 2 seconds. Perhaps they didn't see your message, or they're dealing with some personal issue in their lives. Assumptions can shape how we treat others, often unfairly. And it's a reminder that since we never fully know what people are going through, it's best to avoid filling in the blanks or making up our own stories about them. People are really going through some difficult things and difficult times, as many of us are as well. Many people are overworked, stressed, and dealing with real trauma. And some of them are just trying to survive. This can explain why some express anger and bitterness. It's often rooted in trauma and pain. Darcia Narvaez, a psychologist, highlights how authoritarian parenting and early neglect can lead to deep emotional reactions and rigid behaviors in adulthood. Harsh upbringing instills a biology of fear in children, fostering traits like cynicism, aggression, mental rigidity, and trauma. And it can happen at any age. And it's crucial to be sensitive to it. This upbringing may explain why some prefer authoritarianism, or some in our country want authoritarianism for its certainty and control. Now, these behaviors stem from emotional wounds. Even in seemingly minor incidents, there can often trigger strong, sometimes irrational responses due to those unresolved feelings of inadequacy, fear, and rejection that they had in their childhood that's now manifesting in their adulthood. By understanding the roots of our triggers, we can begin to manage our responses more effectively. Think about what triggers strong reactions in you. Now, I know your partner may know what triggers you, and they know how to push those buttons well. And you know how to push theirs. But think about, what is it? How do you or should you respond when you're triggered? Now, the solution may not lie in avoiding or canceling those who trigger us. I want us to rethink of this a little bit. Now, I believe that we should maintain our healthy boundaries. And when someone's not willing to meet us in the middle, yes, we should walk away. But instead, may it involve our seeking to understand more than our need to be understood. I'll say the solution may not lie in avoiding or canceling those who trigger us. Instead, it may involve our seeking to understand more than our need to be understood. That's our journey. Our healing comes from nurturing our interactions and connections, turning them, giving them the opportunity to turn or to transition into friendships and relationships that offer a way out of the loneliness and the rigidity, out of division and strife. And the only way you can do that is get to know someone. And this can be tough, my friends, but I guarantee you, it can lead to profound changes. Those profound changes we are so desperate for. So it's crucial to develop strategies for navigating these emotional landmines. Another way is by practicing empathy, active listening, and mindfulness. Empathy can be shown by being present when you're present with someone in their time of need, offering comfort through your compassionate presence, even if their sadness and struggles trigger your own anxieties. And at times it will. With active listening, we focus entirely on what the other person is saying, stand open to the possibility that we might be wrong. And with that, we learn to speak with kindness and clarity. And mindfulness involves being present and self-aware of your own stuff. It includes healthy boundaries and practicing self-compassion, but creating self spaces for yourself and others. So when they come to you, they know that you're a safe place and not a button pusher. When you're in difficult conversations, try to refrain negative thoughts. Practice deep breathing. Stay prayerful, meditative. And of course, when possible, seek support from therapists or trusted friends. Or find other coping mechanisms like exercise and creative activities. Now, if you're struggling, I'll say this to all of you, you might want to turn off the negative news cycle. But if you have to watch, if you have to consume the negative news, then balance the news with prayer or meditation or some other restorative practice. So if you spend 5 hours on the news, you spend 5 hours doing something spiritual or creative that restores you. Stay informed, but also stay emotionally healthy, folks. It's going to take that to get us through. These are just a few tips I'm offering. Probably something you already know. Triggers are a part of life, from images we see to things said and done. We trigger one another, and more often we trigger ourselves. They push our buttons, we push their buttons, then we push our own buttons. But we can stop the cycle. When triggered, instead of letting anger or fear control us, we can hold on to our values, choose gratitude, and keep our peace. We can be at peace with ourselves and our neighbors, finding joy in the little things, folks. Mahatma Gandhi reminds us, where love is, there is life, and it is love that we must strive to cultivate, even in the face of triggers. When pushed to the edge, remember that our power lies in our response. Recognize our shared humanity and understand that we are all connected by our experiences, even if our paths differ. By acknowledging this, we can find common ground and foster compassion and understanding in our relationships and interactions. I want you to know that in the coming days, weeks, and months, we're likely to be tested and triggered beyond measure. I thought I almost got an amen out of y'all there, didn't I? But with that, let's practice empathy, active listening, and mindfulness. Let's set healthy boundaries and show compassion to ourselves and others. If you don't mind doing me a favor, since you're so responsive, turn to your neighbor and say, I come in peace. Thank you. Because we must learn to live and thrive beyond the triggers in order to do that. And I will say this, and when all else fails and you're so tired of having your buttons pushed, get rid of the button.
Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace.